Kentucky! It's another Monday. Boy, I don't know about you, but I'm having a crazy one already. It's already 11 o'clock. But it's time to slow down. And this is our time to check in with each other and get some fresh seasonal inspiration for our healthy at home local seasonal eating. And thanks for joining us. We have an awesome set of recipes this week, and we're going to meet a new farmer, which I'm so excited about. And what else do I want to say about it? Thanks to those of you who come back every week. Please know, I often forget to say this during our broadcast, but turn on notifications from the Food Connection if you want to be sure not to miss any of our future broadcasts. And if you have questions, put them in the comments. Bethany's in the background. She'll be popping in and out. We're having to swap technical hosting today. So Bethany will be the one asking questions. We'll make sure that Chef Tanya asks them. So we're excited to hear your comments, any thoughts and ideas that you have. And yeah, we'll have some other exciting updates coming up, maybe today, but maybe not. So turn on notifications, please comment. And today we are cooking with, many of you are getting your CSA shares now, or maybe you're signed up for a lot of the other veggie box programs that are happening. And we're really excited to feature Cleav's Family Market. And we have Ms. Debbie Jones here with us. Bethany, if you want to bring her in to talk about their incredible farm. Hello, Ms. Jones. Can you hear us?
Good morning. I can, yes.
Wonderful. Where are you joining us from in this great Commonwealth of Kentucky?
Well, I am actually on my lunch break in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. So just like I said, take my lunch break in the back of the building. I was trying to do it outside, but they started doing some road construction, and I was like, okay, let me.
It is always hit or miss if our neighbors are going to decide that this is the time they want to use their leaf blower. And every Monday I'm like, please don't use the leaf blower today.
Yeah,
I totally understand. And tell us about your farm, Cleave's Family Market. Where's your farm located?
We have two locations. We're in Hodgenville, Kentucky and Bonnieville, Kentucky.
Okay. And what do you raise at those farms?
Well, we have a big variety of green beans, potatoes, sweet potatoes, cucumber, squash, zucchini, potato.
Purple hull peas? I remember when we visited, you had purple hull peas.
Yes.
And do you do any livestock?
We do. We have chickens, hogs, and beef. And we do have some sheep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And are they wool sheep or meat sheep? Oh, okay.
Meat.
Nice. And you say we, who's all involved in this family farm?
Well, my son is the actual farmer, and then he gathers his, as he calls us, his supporting cast. So his father and I help along with when we put our packages together. My mother, she comes and helps. So
wow.
He keeps his grandmother close, and his daughters, Trinity and Talia, they run the vegetable stand during the middle of the week.
Okay.
So it's just a big variety of us.
So it's a big family affair. Is that part of what you enjoy about it?
It is. With the way the world is now, we don't get a chance to sit down and especially with our teenagers and our preteens, they're into their gadgets. So Friday nights is our night to put packages together. We get to laugh and talk and just visit with one another. And that's when we really get a good blend of family time.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So you talk about these packages. I heard you have a vegetable stand. Where and when is that if people are over there in central Kentucky?
Okay, our vegetable stands are Saturday. We try to be up by 8 o'clock. And Travis's father, Kenny Cleaver, he is the one that really started all the farming.
Oh, wow.
He mans the stand on Saturdays. And then on Wednesdays and Thursdays, Trinity and Talia, they have the vegetable stand up from 10 until 2.
Okay, and that's I'm sorry, did you say what time?
It's at 405 South Lincoln Boulevard in Hodgenville.
Oh, in Hodgenville. Great. Okay, and how else? So we're about to see one of these packages that you described that Chef Tanya has, how can folks here in the Lexington area get your product?
Well, we deliver to Lexington every Saturday. We deliver on 3rd Street. Oh my goodness, I just drew a blank on the street.
The Lyric, I think.
It's in the parking lot of the Lyric Theater.
Perfect.
And we're there at 12:30, from 12:30 until 1. The packages are pre-ordered. We send out a notification on Tuesday evenings, and then you have until Thursday evening to place an order and then pay through PayPal.
Oh, easy.
And yes. And then we meet everyone, and you have your little name on your packet already, and we just hand them out, and you're ready to go on your way and cook something fresh.
Yes. And so if someone wants to get on that list, how do they get on the notification list?
Well, you can contact us at Cleav's Family Market at gmail.com.
Okay. And we'll be sure to put that in the comments so if people want to copy and paste it over to the email.
And we now have a website, cleavsfamilymarket.com.
Oh, I should have checked that out before. Well, now I'm going to be distracted when Tanya's cooking, looking at your website. Okay, so and that's every week that's available? Every other week?
Every week.
Wow, okay. Wonderful. So if you're in Central Kentucky, go check out the veggie stand. It's on like Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Yes.
Go to the website to make sure. Or if you're here, do you deliver anywhere but Lexington, or is Lexington your delivery spot?
Lexington, Louisville, Fort Knox, and Elizabethtown.
That's why you need all the family to go in all those different directions.
Yes.
Oh my. Okay. Well, we're about to see, y'all brace yourselves. This produce is gorgeous. In my tiny little garden, I have one little cherry tomato that's just starting to ripen. I don't have access to any of this, so it's making me just like so hungry for the summer produce. Ms. Jones, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to let you enjoy the rest of your lunch break because Tanya's cooking always makes us so hungry. But thanks so much, and we'll be sure to put your Gmail in there and the website so people can connect and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Well, thank you for having us, and we just count it a pleasure to be able to provide fresh produce for the families here in Kentucky.
Oh, it's all our honor. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day, and let's bring in Chef T.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going? What is all that in front of you?
I'm overwhelmed. Okay. When I went to pick up, I had an idea that this would be a big share just from the list of everything that's involved. But you should look at this. This tray is what I have not used in any of the recipes. This is what is left over. So you've got these lovely little red skin potatoes, squash and zucchini. I can't wait to dig into these peas. And fresh kale, green onions. We have bulb onions back here, you'll see. They do have some tomatoes. They have cherry-sized tomatoes and even some of these yellow tomatoes, the red tomatoes. Peppers, I kept the purple one out so you could see it because they turn green when you cook them anyway. And then on top of, you get this big lug when you go to pick up. On top of that, they like to throw in little extras. So this week, I have a couple of fresh peaches and a tiny little cantaloupe that smells so sweet and floral, and can't wait to cut into that. So we're going to get this bounty out of the way and talk about what we're using today.
Oh my gosh. We've got 3 recipes and you have that much left over. Okay.
And that much left over. All right, so it is super easy to go in, to put in your order, to pay for PayPal, and then you pull into the Lyric parking lot, and then the Cleav's family pulled in, and it was Debra this Saturday, and it's just that they just hand you your box. It's really simple, and that's why they're only there for half an hour. So super easy to do. Their packages do sell out pretty quickly. So if you are interested, when you get that, if you sign up and get that email on Tuesday, I would go ahead and put in my order.
Good to know. Okay.
For the
for folks that don't know, the Lyric is 3rd and Elm Tree, which turns into Rose. It's a little confusing, but if you live in Lexington, you understand that. So yeah, great. Well, what are we making today? And then I'll bow out.
We are making cabbage casserole. We're going to start off with that because that'll have to go into the oven for a few minutes. With the cabbage, pepper, and the bulb onion from the share. And then we're going to make some fresh green beans with little potatoes, which is like now is the time. And these green beans are great. I'll talk about those in a minute. And then finally, this is like when we used to have a garden, all the stuff would come in. This is so familiar to us all. I think if we've raised our own gardens. We're going to do a cucumber tomato salad where the juices sort of make its own dressing on everything. And that'll be a really quick recipe that will hold for the end.
Gorgeous. Okay, I'm most excited about the green beans. You know me. It's hard to pick if broccoli or green beans are my favorite vegetable, but right now green beans. So, okay. Can't wait. Let's get at it. Beth, you can take me out and
all right. So we're going to start off here with this humongous cabbage. Now, if you've joined me before, you know that my biggest concern when trying to get people to cut things down and get familiar with breaking down fresh produce is getting a manageable size and getting a stable surface so that you can cut. So we're going to cut this in half. This is a huge cabbage. Unlike greens where you have a whole bunch and you cook them and it cooks down, when you have a head of cabbage, it just seems to get bigger and bigger. Now I'm going to cut out the core. Oh my gosh, this smells so fresh. I'm just making a divot or a little chevron in there and I'm pulling out the core because that's kind of tough and I'm tossing that away. Now I could start to chop from here, but I'm even going to go a bit further. Now that I have my stable surface, I'm going to cut these in half. And all I'm going to do is cut real thick slices, almost like cabbage steaks. And then I'm going to cut across those slices and that'll give us a nice size chop. We want a bite-sized chop on this. And then we'll turn it on its side when it gets to the wobbly part. And shove that to the side. And then we're going to do the same thing with this quarter. Really, I almost said half, but it's just a quarter of this big cabbage. And this will make plenty for our casserole. And I want to turn it this way and cut across those slices so we get about 3/4 to an inch, and then turn it on its side when it starts to wobble. So now I have that all chopped up. I'm going to throw that in a bowl that it didn't have room for in my kit. Now, next, we're going to cut up this onion. This is part of the share as well. I'm going to cut off the stem and the root, and that's going to make it super easy for us to peel off the papery peel and any other layers that might be dry or leathery or unfortunately might have a little mold if they weren't completely cured, but this one is super fresh. And I'm going to just make a couple of horizontal cuts, almost, but not all the way through. And we're going to cut into the onion with the tip of the knife, not entirely going through the onion again. And then we're going to cut across that to make our dice. So it's 3 cuts. I'll do this again if you missed that. And then we're just going to chop up the root end. And then we're going to put that in a little prep bowl. And then we're going to break down this lovely, now this is a green pepper from Cleav's. We have a purple pepper as well. And I'm just going to take this stem off. And then I'm going to turn it on its side and make a cut right straight down so that I can open up the pepper just a wee bit. I can slide my knife in there, and then all I have to do is roll this pepper around. You never cut toward yourself, but roll the pepper around, and then the whole seed pod and all the ribs come out in one piece. Then I can chop this skin into slices. and cut across those slices, and I'll get a nice dice. You could cut these into really thin slices if you wanted, and do almost a julienne. That would be nice with the cabbage as well. I'm gonna dice up everything today. And then we just have a little bit of butter right here. I'm gonna turn you around so that you can see me start this cabbage. Before we go in, I have a deep sauce pot, a very wide sauce pot. I want to make sure I get you, there we go, so that you can see the sauce pot. So I've got this on medium high, and I'm going to go in here. Once the metal gets hot, I'm going to go in with just a wee bit of butter. I also have in our kit today a tiny bit of flour. We're going to add a little milk and thicken it some. I am not your person for using any kind of Campbell's cream of soup for any of the recipes. So I'm gonna make it almost a little roux. We're gonna saute our veggies in this butter. I'm gonna add some flour, and then we're gonna pour in just a little whole milk. When we get all of that cooked together, we're going to put it in a casserole, or I've got a metal pan, but you'll probably put it in, say, an 8x12. 9x13 is probably a little too big for this amount, but if you use the whole head of cabbage, you may need a 9x13. I've got a cup of shredded cheese. This is just a chive cheddar, and I've got some breadcrumbs, and I want to tell you about these. I usually have some kind of bread in my freezer, and then you have to take it out and toast it and run it through the food processor. Well, we had some little toasts left over, little croustades from an event we had. And what's nice about those is that they're already toasted. The moisture's already out. I took them straight from the freezer, threw them into the food processor, and voila, 30 seconds, and I had breadcrumbs. And then the last thing we're going to do is add a little bit of parsley to those breadcrumbs. So our pot should be hot by now. And I'm going to throw in, there we go. Yes, that butter should go right away. And we're going to throw in our onion. Be sure when you've got hot fat and you're throwing in your veggies to get close to the surface. I know that is counter to what you may be instinctually want to do, but you do want to go close to the surface. And we're going to saute that about 4 or 5 minutes, and let that start to get translucent, and then we'll add our cabbage. I'm going to do that by the handful. Now it will cook down some, but not, again, not like our greens. Now I'm going to add a nice, fairly large, maybe about a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, sprinkle to that. That'll help the cabbage break down a little bit. And some freshly ground black pepper. And then let's give this a stir. All right. And we're going to, while we're doing that, I'll actually bring you right back around here, and we're going to stir together our topping. So I've got those lovely little breadcrumbs right here. I'm going to go in with just about 3 tablespoons of butter. Now this will help those breadcrumbs crisp up on top. Sometimes I don't like it when my bread topping is all soggy in the casserole. I like it to get nice and thick or crisp. And I do like a good thick layer of the breadcrumbs too. Now we are also going to add just a little fresh herb here. I've got this lovely local fresh parsley, and I've picked just about all these leaves. I'm going to pick the last of these. So you just pull the leaves off. And if you've been with me before, you've seen this trick. This really helps to make it really efficient when you're trying to break down a lot of leafy things. So you kind of stack and roll and stack and roll. And then you cut really thin ribbons. And then you cut across those ribbons. All right, I'm going to add those to our mixture. And you just stir that together. Now, if your bread is not very salty, you may want to put some salt in here. This we salted when we toasted it, so I'm not going to add any more salt to that. So there's our breadcrumb topping. I'm going to spin you around again, trying not to make you too dizzy here. But we're going to give this cabbage a stir. It is cooking up nicely. Starting to get nice and bright green. I think you can see the difference in, yes.
Hey, Chef T.
Yes.
Someone has asked if you can use panko breadcrumbs for this as well, if you don't have bread in your freezer.
Yes, panko works really well because it's those light, crispy breadcrumbs that you see that are used in a lot of Japanese cooking or a lot of breading for frying.
They're so delicious.
They give you a lot of crunch. So that would be the next best option. And you find those in the baking aisle with the other breadcrumbs usually. They'll be in a little box. So, or you can order them, of course, online. A lot of people are still ordering a lot. So a panko would be perfect. That's a great suggestion. All right, I'm gonna taste. I'm gonna give my cabbage just a little taste here. I wanna make sure that it's seasoned right. I think I might need a little bit more salt on that. But now I'm gonna go ahead and add the flour. I'm gonna grab just a paper towel real quick. All right, now I'm gonna add this little bit of flour here. And I'm gonna add about 3 tablespoons. When you add your flour, you may need to turn your heat down just a bit, just so you don't scorch that flour on the bottom of your pan. It looks like I need to turn down anyway. I have a little bit of caramelization on the bottom of the pan, but I'm really not upset about that. That's going to add to the flavor of my onions and my cabbage here. Now, if you're big on adding some caraway or a little bit of dill, if you have some fresh dill in your herb garden, this would be the time. We're going to turn this down quite a bit. I've got, this is a whole quart of milk. I'm just going to add about half of that. So a pint. And again, you're going to really want to watch your heat on this. You do have to, in order to get that flour to thicken the bread, you're going to need to bring it up to almost a boil, but we don't want it scorching. So I would say, like, if you have numbers on your stove, I would say like a 6, 5 to a 6 right now. Maybe if you're really stirring and really watching, you could turn it up to a 7 or so, just to get that milk going, because it won't thicken until it does come to a boil. And now I'm gonna grab a tasting spoon so I can taste my little dairy mixture here. Now, if you wanted to make this vegan, you could avoid the butter and use olive oil, of course, and then use a veggie stock instead of milk or a non-dairy milk. Yeah, we're still got a little raw flour in there, and we need a little salt. And we just want to cook this till we get thickening and get the raw flour flavor out. That's a little difficult to say very quickly. The raw flour flake, but you can see it's starting to thicken already as it bubbles. I'm going to turn it down just a bit. Oh, this looks and smells amazing. This fresh cabbage smells oh so good. All right, I think we are ready to go into the baking pan. So I'm going to lift you up here. And pour this into here. Try to get it where I've got the lid of the Dutch oven in the way. I'll try to get this where you can see it. Here we go. Pouring this in. And then just smooth it out. And that's about 12 to 16 portions, depending on how you cut it, from just that half of a cabbage head there. So you get an idea of how much this will make. And then I'm going to sprinkle the cheese on top. You could do 2 layers if you wanted to do like cabbage and then cheese and cabbage and cheese. I'm trying to get this in the oven so that we can pull it out at the end. And then top that cheese with those herbed buttered breadcrumbs. Oh, this is going to be amazing. And I'll let you kind of decide how much breadcrumb you want to put on top. I like quite a bit. I like all that crunch. Okay, and then we're going into a, I do a 400-degree oven. If you're not comfortable with that, you could do 375.
Hey, Tanya.
Yes.
I'm going to give you a little break, so maybe you could go visit the first aid station in the back.
That's awesome. All right, I'll be right back.
Yeah, so Bethany, take out one of the views, so let's just be here. Great. So we got tons of stuff going on at the Food Connection this summer. You've seen Tanya here cooking every week. One of the things we're working on is for all the folks who are first-time CSA subscribers. So I think we've mentioned this, but just about any CSA that I know of is completely sold out. Multiple CSAs completely sold out. I have never heard of that happening ever, which is really exciting. But also means that there's a lot of first-time folks coming to local seasonal eating. And I mean, you saw that share from the Cleav family market. It's a lot of produce, and we as Americans don't do the best job with produce. So one of the resources Tanya's working on when we're not here live streaming with you is coming up with some recipes, some storage tips, and putting together some nice bundles for folks who are new to the party. And we're so glad they're coming to the party, and we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable and confident moving forward. So look for announcements like that. And that is, farmers will be able to download them and put them in their newsletters. So we'll disseminate it that way if you're a farmer watching, or if you're just a enthusiastic CSA eater and you want to learn about tips for kohlrabi storage. If you joined us last week, you saw all those awesome kohlrabi recipes, and you're maybe less scared of the alien vegetable. So keep an eye out. Fun stuff to come.
All right. Thank you for that break. I was trying to manage it, and there's just not much you can do once that starts. And of course, it always happens at the beginning. You know, when I was at a restaurant, stuff like that always happens at the beginning of the shift. So I do appreciate the moment to go take care of that. All right, next, but it's not going to slow me down. So next, we are going to work on, this is one of my favorite dishes. This is just sort of a really homespun, goodness coming out of the garden kind of dish. I'm going to get the pot set up here because we're going to cook this on top of the stove. So this is really great because I've got something in the oven, something on the top. Going to do a salad, and that way when everything's done I can turn everything off and while we eat, so that way you don't have a lot of heat going on in the kitchen. You can just make your heat, be done with it, and then turn it off. Today I've got all of these lovely green beans from the Cleav's family market farm. They're huge, but I assure you they are super, super tender. Now when I was growing up, when we were doing beans, and I'm sure my mom, if she's on, she'll weigh in on this, we did half runners, which meant you had to string them before you could snap them. These beans I don't know what variety, and I meant to ask Deborah and I forgot about that. But these don't have any string, so it's wonderful. It's super quick. Just I tipped them, and all you have to do, and that pop, man, that pop is nothing but nostalgia for me. We used to sit and pop beans together, just like she was talking about the 4 generations of her family coming together. We would sit together and pop beans and do huge amounts of canning. So all you have to do, these are super tender. I know they're big, but that does not affect how tender they are. I'm going to just, and you can cut these with a knife if you want to stack them up with a knife and cut them. I wanted to show you, this is one of the peas that I got. So when you're trying to string your beans, you just snap off the end, and usually the string will come off. And sometimes you'll have a string on the backside. It just depends on the bean variety. So that's just a tip if you do get fresh beans at the farmer's market or through CSA. So we've got all of those. I've also got these lovely little red skin potatoes, and I'm going to cut them into about bite-sized pieces. Now, you have about 3 different sizes here. You're just trying to get your pieces all the same size. So I'm gonna have or quarter these little teeny tiny ones. And again, you're just looking for stable surfaces. So use your claw and get yourself a half, and that way you can turn it on that's cut side that is super stable. And these bigger ones, I'll probably cut into thirds first. And this is nice because I can get rid of that little piece there. And we'll get rid of any spots, just cut out. Use your own judgment on this. I tell that to my classes all the time. If you wouldn't want to eat it, then just take it out. We're going to cut these into thirds and then have that as well. Now, if you have smaller potatoes, like the little marble potatoes you see sometimes, some people will dig them that early. You won't have to cut them at all, probably, or just have them if they're a little bit bigger. We're going to do that onion again. So I'm taking off the stem and the root, peeling it. This is also from the share. Travis will post on the Facebook page for Cleav's what is going to be in the share that week, and I'm sure it will come in your update if you sign up for those. And that way you can kind of anticipate and start planning how you're going to cook all the lovely veg. Again, I am dicing this onion. I'm trying to hurt myself today. And then dicing the onion, we'll throw that into this bowl. And we're gonna mince just about, well, probably slice. Your garlic doesn't have to be super small for this because we really want it to flavor our broth. And as I said, I made a veggie stock this morning. As you can see, when I cut veggies, I'm tossing them into my discard bowl. This is an old cracked bowl we have, and rather than throw it into the garbage, I just keep it, and even all the students know that's T's discard bowl. So I can keep using it. All right, I just popped these garlic with the side of the knife, blade pointing out, and that will crack this thick skin that's on each individual clove. And I can start slicing. I'm going to slice from the tip toward that little woody end, and that way that little woody end can be my handle. And I can discard that at the very end. And outside of that, the only other ingredient I have is oil, and then we're going to season with salt and pepper. So this is a very simple dish. Again, I'm going to turn you around so you can see. I've got the big Dutch oven here. Now, talking about cooking green beans. I grew up on country green beans. So they were canned, they were put in the pot, maybe with some pork seasoning, and then cooked for a very long time until all of that cooked down and made a wonderful kind of pot liquor in the pot with the green beans. These are a much healthier version because we've got the olive oil here, and I'm using the onion and the garlic as my seasoning. And also, if you do use a stock instead of water, you will impart all the flavors of all the vegetables that you use in the stock. So that's one way to make your green beans healthier. Now, these are very super tender. So like they're unlike Romas, you won't have to simmer them all day. Now, Romas do have a tough pod and you do have to cook those down. And also when you cook those down all day, it really brings out their sweetness. These are already sweet. And I just munched on a whole bean as I was going through the produce just to see how I would attempt to cook it. So these I'm not going to put on very on. They're going to cook while we finish up the salad today. And then that'll probably be about it. Maybe half an hour at most. So we're going to go ahead and toss these together. I've got my pan hot. Let me make sure I've got you around here where you can see. I'm going to pour in enough olive oil to coat the bottom of the pan, and also this will all contribute flavor to the sort of pot liquor that we're talking about, the juices from all of the veg, the broth itself, and all of the liquidy parts of this. So I'm going to go in with my onion, and you can hear just a low sizzle on that. We're not super hot here, about a medium to medium high. Just going to saute that for a second. I'm going to saute that a little bit before the garlic. Give it time to break down, the sugars to start to concentrate, and then I'll throw the garlic in. And we've got larger pieces of garlic, so they're not going to burn as much as a mince. And I've got plenty of the onion in there, and that keeps the garlic from burning. And in fact, to move us along, I'll probably go ahead, just do as I say, not as I do. I'm going to go ahead and throw this in to keep us going. And the green beans, you're going to kind of saute the green beans a little bit before we add the liquid. Let me tell you, just the smell of the green beans just takes me back to summers when I was little at my grandmother's, snapping beans together, going for walks, tons of honeydew on the side of the road, sorry, honeysuckle on the side of the road. So this takes me back. Or you can see the color starting to come out in the green beans. So I'm going to throw in the potatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and pour in. This is about a quart of veggie stock. I'm going to see how high that brings the level of the liquid. And then I'm going to turn it all the way up, like high heat, because I want to bring that up to a boil. I think that's a pretty good amount. I'm going to go ahead and season this so that we get a nice bit of saltiness in the beans and the potatoes. And I'm going to put a lid on this because we're coming back over here. And we'll just bring that up to a boil, then turn it down to a simmer after we make our salad. Here we go. Okay, super simple, fresh summer salad coming right up. We'll switch out this tray. Let me get rid of this too. Switch out this tray. Okay, so in the share this week, not only did we have full-size red and yellow tomatoes, but we also have some of these little grape tomatoes as well. So we're going to get a lot of color in our salad. And I'm going to get the salad bowl. I'm going to mix it in this, although I have a decent serving bowl to serve it in as well. Now, actually, I'm going to start with the cucumber first. This is a really large one, so I'm only using one. I think your recipe calls for two. This one's kind of large. On cucumbers, now you've got this skin, and depending on the heat, depending on how long it was left on the vine, the skins can be tender or they can be thick. They can also get a little bitter, especially if it's been really hot. So I'm going to check. Oh, oh, that's so sweet. No problem there. No bitterness whatsoever. Super sweet. Can't get over that. The peel is a little bit thick though, so I'm going to take off half of it in stripes. You all should be jealous of me right now. This is amazing produce. And I'm just going to do alternating stripes. So that'll take a little bit of the peel off, but we can keep the color. And then I'm going to cut this in half before I start slicing it, and take this spoon and scrape out the seeds. The seeds have all of these little membranes around them, and they contain a lot of water. And also, some people don't like the texture of seeds. So we're going to scrape that out so our salad doesn't get too diluted. And just use a spoon to scrape that out. You can do, you know, just like what you do when you're cutting into a cantaloupe, scrape the seeds out. And then, now that we have this, and the smell is amazing too. I'm just about to tear up here. This is beautiful. And that's a cucumber. So we're going to slice the cucumber. And I'm going to just add it to my big bowl as I slice. I'm not even going to go into prep bowls. I'm going to ignore my mise en place. How about that? We're just going to, and see how slicing it or peeling it every other kind of in stripes, we're going to get a lovely bit of green in our salad. And then with the red and yellow tomatoes and the different sizes of tomatoes, it's going to be beautiful. So I'm cutting up this whole cucumber, which is probably about the equivalent of 2. It is so large. So just kind of use your common sense with this. If you've got really large cucumbers and you don't think it's enough tomato, just do it based on your taste preferences. I'm going to cut off the little end of the tomato here, and I'm going to have it. Oh, texture on these is great. Now, an easy way to take, rather than grabbing another knife, a paring knife, and going around and taking out the core, I'm going to show you. All you have to do, I'm going to try to show you where you can see. All you have to do is kind of go in like I did with the core on the cabbage, and you just make a little chevron and take that out. So again, easy. You're not cutting toward yourself. You're not possibly slipping with a paring knife. Much safer. Just going to take the end off there and cut that again. When you get fresh tomatoes, if you're storing them, the best way is, if you can, and if you don't have a lot of fruit fly problem, is to store them out in room temperature. When you refrigerate tomatoes, of course, once you cut them, you want to refrigerate them, but when you refrigerate fresh ones, it does alter the texture and sometimes can alter the taste. So I'm going to cut these into little wedges. I'm just going around the shape of the tomato and letting my knife almost fall toward the center. So there's the yellow. I'm going to toss that in. And here's the red. We're going to do the same thing for this whole tomato. Look at that color. Now I'm going to stir this together once I get this all in. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and put just a sprinkle of salt so we can start activating those open cells. So we've cut this, we've torn open the cell walls of the plant. So we're going to add that salt, and that will, it'll bond with all the water in these veggies. Now, see, I think here I'm going to add just a wee bit more tomato in the shape of these little grape tomatoes. And I'm going to pull a few of those out, and those I'm just going to have. Now, if you can let this salad sit for about 20 or 30 minutes before you serve it, of course, all the flavors will combine and come together. You'll get a lot more juice from your vegetables, and I'm going to make sure that that goes in there too. And then not only do you get bulb onions with your sherry, but you get green onions as well. We're going to slice these up. If you have a red onion about, that might be a pretty addition as well. I'm going to cut the white part into really thin slices, just like I would the green. And then we'll go down here to the greens and slice those up as well. I'm just going to add everything all together. You can add some fresh herbs to this salad if you have a little herb garden going on. Certainly basil would be lovely, or thyme, more parsley. Have some savory going. I think that might be nice. And then cut the greens up again as well. And the amount of onion, you could cook the onion before going in as well. All right, but we're just going to stir this in fresh. And we are adding just a little bit of our favorite vinegar. This is the Madhouse vinegar. This is a white wine vinegar. And I'm going to add around, there we go. I'm going to add around just 2 tablespoons. I'm going to eye this, measure this if you'd like. This is a really, I would use a lighter, fresher vinegar if you have it around. Of course, you could use anything you have. Vinegars, there are only slight differences in the flavor profiles unless you get into something like a balsamic. But any light flavor, so if you have rice wine vinegar or apple cider, even a red wine would be good. And then I'm going to add just a drizzle of olive oil. So this is almost like tomato juice vinaigrette that you're making in here. And I'm going to taste and re-season. So sweet, so light. And a little bit of pepper. And then if you let that sit for about 20 or 30 minutes, it'll be wonderful. Those cucumbers are super crunchy. And then the tomatoes also have the most wonderful texture too. I'm going to put this in a nice bowl. We're going to take a look at our cabbage casserole. We're getting close to time here. So I always like to stir things up in one bowl if I'm going to serve, and put it in the nice one. And then, oh, let's not forget all that lovely juice. All right, so there's one quick dish, very quick, and you don't have to turn on anything hot. Let me check on the casserole. Oh, yes. Okay, isn't that a sight? Look at all the browning and the bubbling and all of that. So we're going to set this down here to cool for a minute. I'm going to step away just 1 second. So Bethany, if you want to bring Lily back in, I'm going to grab something I forgot. So I'll be right back.
It's always a fun day. What else can I share with you guys? If you are doing any fun gardening, share in the chats what you're excited about growing. And I'm trying to think of other programming that we have coming up. Bethany might be able to help me. I am working on, oh, go ahead.
There we go. Yes, if you are in 4-H and you have been missing your cooking clubs, I don't know if the registration is still open, but we also have been holding a virtual cooking club with Chef T. So if you've been missing getting together with your friends and doing any of your cooking clubs, you may want to be looking out for those. That's on the 4-H, the Kentucky 4-H Facebook page. We do have some exciting stuff coming up. We don't quite have dates set yet for that. So you want to pay attention to our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we'll announce each of those as we get, we're going to have more farmers come in. We're going to have maybe some guest chefs coming in, and I'm very excited about introducing you to them. And I think we're going to try to get Brian to come back in and do our biscuit demo that we requested from him. So this is marvelous. If you are trying to cut out squarish shapes, you really want to let this cool quite a bit. Right now, everything's all warm and loose and everything, but I just want to give you an idea. Oh yeah, this is marvelous. And I had a plate ready to go right here. That's all nice and steamy. And look, our cabbage still has some green to it. And that nice crisp topping and all of that ooey gooey cheese. As we like to say here, you can never have too much cheese. And then let's take a look at our green beans. I don't know that our potatoes will be quite done yet, but we'll give it a try. Look at that color. Oh, potatoes are getting there, not quite. So we won't serve that up today, but at least you'll have the idea. And we're starting to, get really tender on the beans. I think it'll take about 20 more minutes on those at a simmer, and then just taste. And if you feel like they need a little bit, of course, these are super sweet. They might need a little bit more salt, and you just want to put enough in there that to really emphasize all that sweet flavor. So there are your 3 recipes for today. Super fresh, bounty from the garden kind of recipes. It's always my favorite.
I can't wait. We did post all the recipes, so they're there and available for you, and the chats are always on our Food Connection website under the Learning Kitchen recipes. And don't forget to check out the Cleav Family Market website if you want to get your hands on one of these bountiful shares. It's an abundance, but let's say you can opt in week by week. So you get it for 1 week, maybe you stretch it to 2. That's always an option. My Fresh Stop share this past time was huge. Tanya, do you know what I made? My Fresh Stop share had like 4 different kinds of greens, plus the tops to the beets and other things. Do you know what I made for the first time by myself? Can you guess?
Marmalade.
I made greens marmalade. Y'all, if you've been to one of our nice events, Tanya makes this greens marmalade. It's like I put beet tops and chard and collards. I think there was Brussels sprout greens maybe in it. Put them all in, raisins, capers, some garlic, delicious. Spread it on toast and I put an egg on it.
Oh,
it was
man.
good. It was real good.
That's
so I talk a lot on here about like my mediocre cooking, but this was pretty good. Thanks, Mary, for your comments on it. Turn on notifications. I don't know if we have our topic set for next week, but maybe it'll be a surprise.
Yes, we'll certainly advertise it.
Depends on what's in season, so stay tuned to find out. If you have thoughts, questions, always send us a message on Facebook, email us, check out our website. Any parting words, Tanya?
This is the height, man. This is when people are getting what they go to farmers markets for, or what they get the CSA share for. So be on the lookout. Now we're in green bean season, tomato season, cucumbers. You will start to see some eggplant coming up, some corn, everything that that just says summer garden is about to come in. So I think everybody should really check out whatever they have. I mean, even my little hometown has a farmer's market now. So if you see one, at least go by and check it out. And if there's anything you see and you go, what can I do with that? Shoot us a question. We'd love to meet your needs with these streams.
Perfect. All right. Always a pleasure. Tanya, I'm missing you in person. Mostly I miss the leftovers. It's a tie between you and the leftovers. And we'll
At least
see
I rate leftovers.
Hey, you know how high that ranks. So thanks so much, everyone. Bethany, you could go ahead and end us for the day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.